this movie, but it was not as good as I remember. 1989 Batman had its flaws here and there, so it wasn't as good as I remember, but it was still really good. This one, not so much. There's like a lot of stuff that I thought was weird about it. First off, with how sexual Penguin is in this movie, it's just weird. It's not really funny. At least not in my opinion. And the fact that the line choice makes him seem like a pedophile. Like, he starts flirting with Catwoman, right? Which is fine, I guess. But then, seconds later, he decides to insult her by calling her a 16-year-old. And says that, like, her dad never bought her money or something. Or never bought her a pony or something like that. But he was just flirting with her seconds ago, but now he's saying that she might be a 16-year-old. Okay. Little weird. At least it was only in one scene. Penguin had his moments where he was like Penguin, but he also wasn't very comic accurate in my opinion. He was very good at manipulating. He almost becomes mayor. He becomes mayor in the comics. And he became mayor in Gotham. He doesn't get to become mayor in this because Batman ruins it. Obviously. He kills someone just for disagreeing with him, one of his own men. But then there's just this really goofy stuff. Like, how he legit has penguins that work for him. What else? Oh, he gets lured downstairs by a fish. That one was just ridiculous. Penguin could have just, Max was already shown to be, a manipulator, so he could have just, manipulated him downstairs, not this really goofy scene. But at least these things, showed us what was definitely going to happen with the future movies, with Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. I'm pretty sure this is the only one in the series that references the other movies. Penguin references Joker at one point. He doesn't straight up say Joker, but he says clown. That causes chaos. And then he mentions Catwoman right after, so he's clearly mentioning, criminals. And Vicky Vale gets mentioned 3 times, but they never say why she's not in the movie. At all. They're just like, reasons. We couldn't think of one. Some of the dialogue isn't the best. And there's multiple sexist jokes in this movie. I didn't really remember them being in this movie. I mean, it's one thing to have a character be sexist and that be like one of the reasons we're not supposed to like him. But they just do it casually. I get it's an older movie, but still. Like, there's a scene where Max goes and says, she's not house trained when he's talking about a human being, and then goes on to talk about how good her coffee is, and everybody in the room laughs. No one really looks uncomfortable. I didn't like that joke. It's just a bit of a weird joke to make. Oh, and I wish we would have got to see Chip's reaction to his dad dying. Every time we saw him, they had a pretty good bond. So it sucks that we didn't get to see a reaction from Chip. He tried to risk his life for him. And then later, his dad repays the favor and risked his life for Chip. So it would have been cool to see a reaction but apparently not. Batman also kills like 3 people in this movie. There's obviously the one that's talked about the most. The one where he just straight up gives a dude dynamite and kicks him in a hole. Then there's 2 that I saw. When he's fighting the criminals, he has like these things come out of the Batmobile. It trips him, and then the fire lands on top of them, and he just keeps driving. Then one dude, he straight up sets on fire on purpose. He slowly turns around his armored Batmobile and then just sets him on fire and drives away. A lot of things I didn't care for in this movie. There's also a thing in the first movie they show how, if he's going to leave the Batmobile, he turns on the armor. Later in the movie, he turns the armor off and just leaves it for some reason. I thought it was supposed to be a distraction for Penguin's men since they showed up and started messing with it. But it was apparently because they wanted to, control the Batmobile or something. I thought they had just randomly stumbled upon it and it was going to be a distraction so he could go save the Ice Princess. But apparently not. It was a part of the plot. And Penguin even had this whole miniature Batmobile made so he could drive the Batmobile. But in the first movie, they show that he doesn't leave it unarmored. And he just gets in and doesn't notice that there's anything wrong with it. Which is very weird. Oh, and a lot of the deaths in this movie are by falling. Catwoman dies 3 times by falling. Penguin dies by falling. Pretty sure that's what it is. Because bats scare him. Then he falls into the water very high. But during the scene, they get a close-up on his face and you can see a little bit of green on it. So maybe he accidentally drunk the chemicals that he briefly mentioned to Max. But I found it so weird in some scenes. Penguin is just a manipulator and he won't really listen to what anyone will say. But in then other scenes, he's just so easily manipulated. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, it was still a decent movie. I don't care for it as much as the first one. And I don't care for it as much as I used to. I used to love this movie and love the first one, and then I didn't care for the other 2. But now that I've rewatched it, it's really not the best. It's still a decent movie, though. Definitely better than the other 2 in the series.